Hey folks, Lachlan here, a South African living with quadriplegic cerebral palsy. In a recent video that I released, in which I talked about how the African National Congress has been the cause of South Africa's failure, I said that one of the reasons for this was that they have consistently advocated for and enforced policies which prioritize appearance over reality. Today I'm going to give you an example of that by talking about South Africa's failed education system. So, I completed high school in 2008, and by that point, the ANC controlled National Department of Education had already begun to actively lower educational standards and to require less achievement for students to pass each year. And that remains the case today. And they did this primarily because it inflates pass marks. In fact, it's become something of a tradition every January for the ANC to publicly celebrate just how many successful matriculants have graduated from the country's high school. But let's be clear about this. There are many problems. Firstly, the ANC has utterly failed to build and maintain enough schools to keep pace with South Africa's growing population. And on top of that, they are now, through recently enacted legislation, allowing the children of foreign nationals from elsewhere in Africa, whether documented or undocumented, to attend South African schools, which is displacing local South Africans and is causing a great deal of social tension in South Africa. But let's focus more, aside from that, on the actual standard of education in South Africa. As I said, I completed high school in 2008, after which I attended a small private college in the heart of Durban, where I studied journalism. And this is relevant. I've said it before, but I will say it again. I was the only white kid in my college class. All of my classmates were black, every single one of them. And when I attended that course, it was clear that many of my classmates could not read the study material and understand it for meaning. Now, let me explain something about journalism to you. I would call journalism a mildly academic subject. There are some industry specific terms, but the kind of thing we were studying is not anything so difficult that a grown adult should struggle to understand it. And yet, as I witnessed in my class, for many of my classmates, that was a genuine problem. They struggled to grasp and understand the basic concepts we were being taught. And there is a reason that the ANC has allowed this to happen. Because by weakening the education system, they keep the majority of South Africans ignorant, uninformed, and essentially stupid. Now, there's one main reason they would want this to be the case. They don't want voters to be smart enough to realize, hang on, we don't actually need to be dependent on the African National Congress. And if we work hard enough, we can develop our own success outside of them and without their help. The African National Congress realizes that by keeping voters stupid and by keeping the average South African dependent on government welfare, of which millions are, by the way, they realize that by doing these things, they maintain their grasp on power. That grasp is beginning to slip now as many South Africans around the country of all races, but particularly these days among black South Africans, are beginning to realize just how evil the ANC is and how useless and counterproductive they have been to the prosperity of South Africa. So the ANC is getting desperate, and they continue to tell lie after lie. In fact, if you only listened to statements made by ANC cadres, you would think that South Africa is a first world nation capable of standing toe to toe with America. It is not. Our infrastructure is crumbling, our economy is stagnating and, in fact, going backwards, while our politicians and their families remain immensely wealthy to the level of royalty. In fact, Cyril Ramaphosa, our president, recently approved a salary increase for all members of executive government. Now, it's only 3.8%, which doesn't seem like a very big number until you realize that no one in the executive branch of government is paid less than 1 million rand per year, and some of them take home as much as 3 million. So a 3.8% increase on those numbers represents a massive increase, more than the average South African will ever see in 10 years, never mind one. But if you listen to the African National Congress, and particularly to those within its high ranks, like Ramaphosa and his direct underlings, they will tell you a story about how the African National Congress is firmly in the process of transforming South Africa and providing a better life for all. Never mind the fact that, as I said, because of our poor education system, many South Africans leave school not even being able to understand the world around them. And because our economy is sliding off a cliff, there are no jobs for them to go into as adults. So they fall into states of depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. Alcoholism and drug addiction are growing problems in South Africa because of the epidemic of hopelessness that our young people are facing. I say our young people as though I'm old. I'm not that old. I'm only 35 years old right now. But I am old enough to have seen the change in South Africa from the days of my youth up until now. And I can tell you one thing, it has not been good. As always, I hope that you find something of value in this content. Look after yourselves, be kind to one another, and for now, farewell.